EastEnders confirm a long-awaited return after 27 years for a devastating story. If you don't know who this is, it's not Claire. I will specify that very quickly. It's not Claire, but it is Julie. From 27 years ago. Julie is Nigel's second wife. And why is she being
I think
brought
they're
in?
still married.
Yeah, they are still married. Yeah, but his second wife. So, kind of works out. But why is she being brought in? Well, for context, Nigel has been diagnosed with early
Whoa,
on.
whoa, 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 whoa. We need 30 seconds before. YouTube with the money. You can't be taking the money away.
I'm sure the D word is fine.
Nigel's been suffering with a condition that means that his brain is slowly degenerate, whatever, whatever.
Are we doing?
And go.
Okay, I don't know why dementia would be a trigger word, but alright.
YouTube, who the fuck knows?
But he's been diagnosed with early onset dementia. Now, if you don't know what that means, early onset is when you get it. Well, I know this might sound weird, much younger in your life than you're supposed to, because usually dementia would roughly.
Well, it's kind of those like Alzheimer's dementias are kind of viewed as like the old people disease.
Yes, you would
But,
roughly.
typically people will get it at like 70s,
Yeah.
80s. But Nigel's what, like 60?
He's like 62, 63. But like, yeah, as I was saying, he's like in universe 62, 63, so it's technically early onset. And people even as young as 30 can get it. Surprisingly, I found out a patient could once get it at 20. I think it was 20. Just depends.
Yeah,
It just depends. Some people are sadly effed when that happens, and it's a horrible condition. But he has been excuse me, had a McDonald's big arch burger, still recovering. He sadly has been diagnosed with early onset dementia, and he has left Julie from Scotland because he didn't want her to. He didn't want to be a burden on her, basically. Because if you still are at the stage where you can sort of remember your life and you could sort of still do like normal basic things like putting your clothes on, he didn't really want to like Julie to experience the end of his life. Basically, want her
like
to remember
that sort of thing where if you're able to choose, you would often choose to not have a loved one remember you after you've lived with dementia for a while. Like the less time as time goes on, the less choices you can actually make yourself, and you don't want someone's last memories of you to be what you were like in the end. Whereas the way Nigel viewed it is, if I leave now, she will remember me whilst I'm still good. She'll remember me for who I was, not what I become.
Yeah, and basically he left her high and dry, to quote Radiohead, and that's a tragic song as well, High and Dry. Bloody don't know why I brought up Radiohead. I'm just sad thinking about it. But so he left. He basically fled. Now, if we're going to do this from the perspective of Julie, she had no idea he had dementia. He just left.
Vanished.
She might have a guess of what happened, but she literally has absolutely zero clue of what happened. And to her, he just left. He just ran as far as he could and never looked back. And that would leave a lot of questions. I would assume if you're in a relationship, if your partner just left Scotland and has just...
I mean, it would first be like, what the fuck? Why did you just leave me? We're supposed to be together. And then I'm sure there probably won't be a bit of time till Nigel will kind of be like, well, Nigel will probably forget. And then Julie will then be confronted with the fact, like, why don't you remember me? And it'll be a pretty heartbreaking thing to realize, just like, oh, fuck. But I mean, who knows? I would imagine Phil will call her. Right? Phil will call her, or at least someone will call her on Phil's behalf. And then she will arrive. She probably won't know the full grips that he has dementia, and this is why he left. She'll have a lot of questions and upset. But yeah, it'd be a lot to find out and have to wrap your head around. And I can't imagine it's the easiest of transitions.
I just because I know it's tragic, but it'll make great storytelling. Because I don't want to say obsession, but I've this weird there's something kind of wholesome but also sad about like being with someone for so long that like you kind of get to the stage where they kind of forget you, but they know who you are. They just forget you basically, but they know they can kind of know who you are. Is what I'm trying to say.
You know that they know who you are,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
at certain points in time, they won't be able to remember you.
yeah. Because if you don't know, my nanny famously had dementia, and she could not remember me.
Famously.
Hmm? I
I'm
thought you
just
said,
joking at the use the word famously.
yeah, well, yeah. But she had dementia, and like to other people it'd be sad. Oh, she forgot me, but to me, I was like, yeah, she forgot me.
It's just a condition.
It's just a condition. But the saddest thing I think that I ever experienced was, and fuck, it's gonna make me cry, but I don't care. Is the last day she was alive. The carers went up to her room, and I was told by one of the carers that she wanted to see me. She specifically remembered me and wanted to see me, and that broke me. Because imagine lying on your deathbed and you want to see your grandson who you've forgotten all those years, and it's like, oh Jesus. And then when she passed, I made the death much worse because I sat in the room with her and played Green Day "Time of Your Life," and then waking up when September End plays. And and that is not what you want to do when someone passes, because you go from tears to bloody floods of tears. It's, but dementia is one hell of
a sickly combination.
Yeah, you start crying, you're crying wholesome tears when "Time of Your Life" plays, just like a song about remembering life, and then when "Waking Up in September" ends, just the floodgates come out. But yeah, it's like to reiterate, dementia is like it's a killer, and I'm glad EastEnders are doing it in a way. But I want to know, will they like go full on? Will they actually commit, or will it just be like, oh, he's left now, and what happened to Nigel? Ah, he died off screen. Oh, that's like, I wonder, will they give him a full like exit? But I don't know, because
it's kind of the weird thing with Nigel, where if you do a dementia storyline, and we're not necessarily doing it from the start of when he was diagnosed, right? So by the time he'd arrived, he's already been suffering with it, even then. So now we don't like. We could kind of imagine the timeline. It's like in Coronation Street. Coronation Street is doing a dementia storyline as well. It's doing an early onset dementia storyline. The character called Debbie Webster, and she's been quite prolific by saying, "Yes, I was axed, but I'm still here till 2027." So like, they are gonna take a lot of time to explore it and kind of get through it in as much detail as you can. And you kind of can do it with these sorts of stuff, like with Parkinson's, for example. You can kind of tell it over an extended period of time, but it's just about how long they've actually want to tell this story for. And that's the weird bit, because from everything we've known till now, it's been like, all right, Nigel's going to return, and then Phil's going to be his carer, and then it goes from there. Maybe Julie will return, maybe Claire will return. But now with Julie returning, now are we potentially heading towards the finish line? Like, excuse me. Like with Nigel's escape plan, I'll put it like that, is going into like a coast like cottage, and just the it just ends it. Just ends it. And ends it all.
Taking a walk off a short cliff. A long walk off a short cliff.
It's supposed to be pier, but yeah. But it's and that's how he plans to end things. But now with Julie returning, does he still get to that place? Do we actually see it kind of go further? I don't know. That's the interesting bit. That's the interesting bit to see, and we have a lot of questions, but maybe some of it will be answered in the article.
And hopefully the article's not like the animal, where I start reading the synopsis of an episode. Who knows? So as the article said, and as I opened up with, but you can't really see it on screen, so I'm sorry. EastEnders confirm long-awaited return after 27 years for a devastating storyline. This character will be back for the Nigel storyline. EastEnders spoilers below, or follow. I don't know why I read that. I was supposed to read the first slide and I completely missed. I'm sorry. EastEnders has confirmed the return of Julie Bates for Nigel's young onset dementia storyline 27 years after her last appearance. It was previously revealed that Nigel had done a disappearing act on Julie to avoid telling her about his diagnosis, and lied to everyone in Walford, claiming they had separated. Karen Hethorn returned for a voice cameo earlier in the year, but although it has now been confirmed, the actor is set to reprise the role proper in new scenes on the BBC Soap. Julie will arrive on Albert Square in the summer, as she is set to discover the truth about Nigel. It's very surreal to be back in Albert Square after 27 years and working with the delightful Paul Bradley again. It's scary how fast the time has gone, Karen said in a statement. And there's lovely photos of old Julie Bates. Lovely jeans on her. Lovely jeans. Lovely denim as well. Julie has got some awful surprises ahead of her after the initial release. She feels to discover Nigel is still alive. It's been great to film with Paul and Steve, and then in brackets obviously McFadden, who are such lovely actors, as Julie discovers Nigel's dementia diagnosis and why he chose to hide it from her. Executive producer Ben Whiteley added, "We are delighted to have Karen Henthorne returning to reprise her role as Julie, who arrives looking for Nigel. Julie hasn't seen Nigel in almost 2 years and is unaware of his diagnosis and reasons for leaving, so her arrival will pose questions for the pair of them." And there's a lovely photo of them. Yeah. Oh, there's
fair enough. They're just teasing a bit of the synopsis. I mean, kind of as we explained, really, we actually did quite a good job of hitting all the points that they have. So a lot to learn for Julie. You know, she doesn't know why you left, and obviously she has 2 different reasons. First, why did you leave me? And second, you left me. You left me for 2 years. And third, what, you now have dementia? What the fuck? Like, it's kind of a betrayal in its own right, because you walked out on her. You walked out on his marriage of 25 years, roughly. If this is 27, it's roughly 25. You walked out 2 years ago. So you walked out on his marriage that all seemed well. He claimed that Julie slept with someone else, but he also could have just been lying about it. He could have just been lying about it. She told him to come home. It's just kind of a, I don't know, it's quite sad in its own right. Obviously, it's gonna be exciting to see Julie come back in this form, because if you have the character to bring back, it's important to do. If you're not going to bring back Claire for this, because she's in Hollyoaks as Claire Devine, if you're not going to be able to bring back Claire, bringing back Julie is the next best thing. And even then, so we never really saw Claire and Nigel's relationship as when she was an adult. So we only really saw the dynamic when she was a kid or a teenager. So you can kind of understand why they would rather bring back Julie than Claire. But also, I mean, Hollyoaks contacted Gemma Bissix in January. So it's basically, hey, Nigel's back. Claire Devine, do you want to come back to Hollyoaks? Do you want to come back to Hollyoaks right now? It's kind of an unfortunate thing of timings. But I do think there will be some semblance from Claire. It feels like it would be unfortunate. I don't think Claire would return long term. I would just be for a brief episode or a week or so. But still, I think it would be an interesting thing to tell if you actually have the time.
Yeah, and I don't really have much left to add. I'm just going to flash up that photo of Nigel and Julie, and I want to leave it there.
I will say I'm glad that we are going this direction, though. I'm glad that Phil will be getting help. I'm glad that Nigel will be reunited with his wife, and we'll probably see the next stage of this storyline develop, and we can kind of start to come to grips with, will it be a Christmas storyline? Will it go beyond? Time will tell.
Yeah, and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Bye bye.